In this video, we're going to go over how to create batch deposits so that you can group payments that you've received from customers. You can also technically use it for grouping payments to vendors as well. But more traditionally, it's used for collecting and grouping, say, checks or cash from the point of sale, or manual checks that you receive from customers, and grouping those into a single batch deposit when your bank account is going to show multiple transactions as a single deposit. So to do that, I'm on the going to the accounting module, and in this case, I'm going to do a customer batch. But you can see technically you can do batch deposits with vendors and build a group money going out as well. Not normally or not as commonly used, but it is functional that way as well. But I'm going to come to my customers, do a batch deposit. In this case, I've already received and logged 3 checks that I received from my customers on some invoices. So I'm going to go create a new customer deposit, and I'm going to leave the reference empty, as I'm just going to let the system auto-generate a reference for me. You can specify a reference if you want. I'm going to pick the account that the check was written for, and in our case, we did mark it as a batch deposit. It doesn't have to be. You can use manual or batch deposit depending on how your transactions were processed. And from here, once I have the account and the payment method, I can click on my add a line and I can add my payments. You can go through and add one at a time, or I can select and grab multiples or hit my check boxes and go ahead and say select. So that's it. I've taken these are my 3 checks that I've received from my customers. I can add them to this batch deposit, and it gives me the total that we will be doing the deposit for. And now I can just go ahead and validate this transaction. And the system is going to go ahead and it creates a special journal entry that groups all of these into a single open deposit waiting to be reconciled on the bank account. You can also come in here and print a payment deposit slip. It's just a basic document that outlines the checks that you received or the amounts. If it's from the point of sale, it'll have one cash entry and or check entry per point of sale register, so you can group multiple point of sales closing, cash or checks into a single deposit, and it makes it a little bit easier to keep track of what those deposits are, and that I have a $6,400 deposit that's going to be hitting my bank in a single deposit. So to show you kind of how that goes through the system, now I've created my deposit. I can print that deposit slip and keep a copy of it, or use it to do my deposit with the bank, showing the total amount that we created. If I go back to my dashboard and I can come in here, I'm just going to go to the specific statements. So I don't have to reconcile everything. And you can see here is the bank showing the deposit that downloaded from my bank account. I can go ahead and come in here to reconcile it. And the advantage now is, normally if I would have gone to my miscellaneous matching, I would have had 3 or 4 or 5 or however many checks I had. Now we've grouped everything into a single batch, and here is my batch entry, and you can see it's for the 64, 84, 30. I just now have to select that and validate it, and now I've actually reconciled that entire batch being deposited into my bank account. And if I go back to my accounting dashboard, I forgot to highlight this, but my outstanding payments and receipts was obviously $6,400 difference. So now that we reconciled it, that number has adjusted for any outstanding checks that still haven't cleared the bank yet. But that's the basic function. The deposits, batch deposit allows you to group other payments in the system into a single deposit, so that when you go to reconcile it, you don't have to go find them again. You can create it at time of the deposit, and then if the bank takes a couple of days to process or someone else is doing the reconciliation, it won't be as hard for them to go back and find all of those payments and transactions that made up that single deposit.